And it is you who convinced your neighbors and family members and friends and co-workers. You got to get out there because you'll make a difference. You, based on your personal relationships that are about being opinion leaders in the community, did that work, which resulted in some of the highest voter turnout we've ever seen, some of the highest turnout of young voters we've ever seen, and an historic election for all those reasons. Plus, in so doing, South Carolina set the path for Joe Biden to become President of the United States and me to be the first black woman Vice President of the United States. It is you who did that. It is you who did that. And it is the leaders of South Carolina. I mean, I really do miss Bernice. I've talked to you about this so many times. And Senator, I love coming back to South Carolina. It feels like home. And I'll tell you, one of the things that I love about the leaders here is you live a life that understands the power of leadership and how it should be measured. You know, in the last few years, I'd say maybe several years, there's been this kind of perversion that's coming from some folks that would suggest that the measure of the strength of a leader is based on who you beat down. When we know the true measure of the strength of a leader is based on who you lift up. Based on who you lift up. That the real character, the character of a leader is the type of person that has some level of curiosity, concern, and care about the suffering of other people, and then does something about that to lift up the condition of the people. And that's the nature of the leaders who are here. When I was traveling to South Carolina and spending time here back in 2020 and even 2019, it was the leaders in this room who said, at the time it wasn't Vice President, Kamala, Kamala, come on out and travel with us around the state because we have more rural communities than not, and you need to come see what's going on. And I traveled with the leaders in this room, with the Reckoning crew and others. I'll never forget one Sunday after church. So we went, Jaleesa, where were we? In Williamsburg. That's exactly where we were, in Williamsburg. And it was after church, and everybody had come from church. And I was talking about how internet and access to high-speed internet can really help with the education of our children, because if they have a tablet, how they can then do their homework in a way that with the tablet at home and then go to school and work with their teacher. And I was talking about this. And the leaders in that room looked at me and said, well, yeah, that'd be fine if we had access to high-speed internet. And pointed out to me that in many areas of rural South Carolina, like many rural and other areas in our country, folks don't have and didn't have access or couldn't afford what in the 21st century is not a luxury but should be a right. And it is because of the leaders here in South Carolina and that demonstration of, hey, this is a problem that needs to be solved, that Joe Biden and I and our administration are on track to now ensure that every family in America has access and can afford high-speed internet. Right now in South Carolina, it's directly impacting 100,000 families. Woo! It was the leaders here who talked about the fact that our children should not be drinking toxic water out of lead pipes. And talked about the fact that, look, we may not be a doctor or a scientist, but it doesn't take a doctor or a scientist to understand how that water is having an impact on the health and the well-being and the ability to learn of our children. And so we made that a priority when we got elected and are on track to get rid of all the lead pipes in America. It was the leaders here who said what we know. So many of us have members of our family who have diabetes. Black folks are 60% more likely to be diagnosed for diabetes. And it is a crying shame that our seniors have had to make decisions about whether they could afford to either put food in their refrigerator or pay for their insulin. And because of the leadership here, because of what happened out of South Carolina, We have now capped the cost of insulin at $35 a month for our seniors. Yeah. Because of you. Because of you, we have now capped the cost of prescription medication for seniors on an annual basis to pay no more than $2,000 a year because of you. So these are just a few of the many examples. Yes, I am a proud HBCU graduate. I'll mention another one. You know, the one that's here. Now, should I say South Carolina State? Right? There we go. Because we know, all of us, that our HBCUs are centers of academic excellence, which sadly and for a variety of reasons have not had the kind of endowments that some other schools have, that they are underfunded, often in need of repair, and certainly in need of resources. Our administration came in with a lived experience and commitment to this issue, and we have now invested over $7 billion in our HBCUs. Elections matter. Elections matter. So I'm here to say thank you. And I'm here to ask the leaders who have always been present and right in the front to keep doing what you're doing and do it again. We have so much at stake in this election. So early voting in South Carolina starts a week from today on Monday, the 22nd. And then the primary actually is not on a Tuesday. You know, people used to vote on a Tuesday. It's on a Saturday. February, yes. So keep that in mind, and let's remind people it's on a Saturday, February 3rd. And let's make sure everyone does what they know how to do and have always done to show the leadership of South Carolina for our nation. It's first in the nation and sets the tone for everything that comes. And when I think about what is at stake, there is so much. I just left the State House to give a speech in honor of Dr. King, and I talked about what I see as I'm traveling our country. There is a full-on intentional attack against hard-fought and hard-won freedoms and rights. The kind that so many leaders historically and currently have fought for right here in South Carolina, and certainly that Dr. King did. They're attacking the right to exercise your civic responsibility to vote. You look at what happened in Georgia. Passed a law to make it illegal to give people food and water who are standing in line sometimes for hours to vote. What happened to love thy neighbor? The hypocrisy abounds. Passing laws to deny women the ability to make decisions about their own body. And here's the thing on that subject. I think we all agree. One does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree. The government should not be telling her what to do with her body. If she chooses, she'll talk with her pastor, her priest, her rabbi, her imam, but not the government telling her what to do. We look at these attacks on hard-won freedoms and rights and liberty. And those are just but two of the many examples. I did a college tour starting in the fall last year. I see our college students up there. And let me just tell you, I love Gen Z. I don't know if some people, I love Gen Z. So, okay, for the older adults, this is going to be a humbling thing I'm about to share with you. If someone is 18 years old today, they were born in 2005. Oh, yeah, check that out. Think about that for a minute. But, right? The senator said, wow. But here's the thing about Gen Z, and it has always been our tradition to look to the young leaders, to inspire us, and to remind us of what is at stake. Well, for Gen Z, think about it. It is a lived experience for them. They've only known the climate crisis.
Talk about it.
They've only known the climate crisis. They witnessed George Floyd being murdered. They went through a pandemic where they missed significant parts of their education. They witnessed the height of the parents don't want to hear this, but in the height of their reproductive years, they just saw the highest court take a fundamental right from them. I would ask them at every college or university, raise your hand if at any time between kindergarten and 12th grade you had to endure an active shooter drill. Look in the back of the room. All of their hands would go up. I talked with a younger student who told me about how, on this subject, I don't like going to fifth period, this child said. I said, why, honey? Because in fifth period, there's no closet to hide in. Yep. Okay? So on issues like climate, to the need for things like an assault weapons ban, these young leaders, these are lived experiences. It's not intellectual, it's not academic, it's not hypothetical, it's a lived experience. And so we look to them to continue to inspire us around understanding what is at stake. And with all of that, I'll close by saying this. We have always been a people, and by that I mean all people, who are guided in our fight, knowing that we fight for something. It's not a fight against anything. It's a fight for something. We have always been guided based on faith and belief in what is possible, based on faith and belief on the foundational principles of our country, knowing we have to work to fully realize them. And so I would ask us then, fueled by that faith, fueled by that belief, fueled by optimism, let us do what we know how to do so well. Let us organize. Let's email, let's text, let's call folks, let's knock on the neighbor's door and remind them we are all in this together. And we love our country. And it is worth fighting for. And when we fight, we win. All right.
Let us give Madam Vice President a Laura Richland, South Carolina. When we fight, we win. 4 more years.